Hi readers, welcome back to my channel, Lila Wanders and Reads. Lee here, and today, by the time this posts, they will have already announced the long list for this year's Booker Prize, and I am so looking forward to it. Last year, when they announced the long list, I read, I think, almost half, if not half, of the books that were on the long list, and I ended up reading the winner later in the year. But it was such an excellent experience. It really expanded my reading horizons. I felt like it stretched me as a reader. And I'm looking forward to doing that again. Can't wait to find out. By the time this posts, like I said, it will have already been announced. So I might do a short about that. But today, this is Sunday, and it's 99 degrees outside with a feels-like temperature of 115, so I'm trying to stay indoors, and I'm in anticipation of the long list announcement. I got to thinking about past winners. At the beginning of this year, I had intended to start my own Booker Prize project, and I got a little derailed because I found that I don't like to be told what to do, even by myself. And so I feel myself resisting, where I should just really pepper the books in throughout my reading weeks or month and get over being told what to do by myself. Anywho, so thinking about the long list, and I thought I'd talk about the winners from the last 5 years. I don't have the complete collection yet of all the Booker Prize winners, but I do have the last 5 years and a lot of years prior, but this is going to be a shorter video. I've actually read 3 of these, and 2 of them obviously are in my TBR, my Booker Prize TBR cart. I'm going to start with 2020. In 2020, that's when I moved into this house and started reading again actively, and didn't know anything about the Booker Prize. I didn't learn about that until I got on YouTube. But a couple of years ago, maybe last year, I read Shuggie Bain by Douglas Stewart, which was the 2020 winner. This is the unforgettable story of Hugh Shuggie, or maybe Shuggie, I don't know, Bain, a sweet and lonely boy who spends his 1980s childhood in run-down public housing in Glasgow, Scotland, taking care of his beloved mother, Agnes. Agnes is a proud, beautiful woman who turns herself out like her idol, Elizabeth Taylor, but she is enthralled to alcohol and spends most of the family's weekly benefits money on extra strong lager and bottles of vodka. A heartbreaking story of addiction, sexuality, and love, Shuggie Bain is an epic portrayal of a working-class family and a queer childhood from a masterful novelist. And I'll say this, all that's true. When I left Shuggie Bain, I felt like I was in such a dark place. It is a beautiful novel. It is so well written, but it is so full of sorrow, and I was trying to combine sorrow and horror, and not in the conventional way that one thinks of horror. There is a little bit of hope at the end, which kept me from dissolving into tears, but it's just really a beautiful, powerful, sad book. I've heard a lot about, I can't remember the author, but A Little Life, which is all over the Instagram, or was when it was out in paperback. And they say that it tears you up reading it. This one tore me up reading it. I highly recommend it, though. So, 2021 is a book I have not read yet, but I hope to get to it, period. And that is Damon Galgut's The Promise. If you'll notice, I've got little note cards in each of these that say what year they won, because I've got them in order from oldest to newest in my TBR cart. I have a TBR cart set aside just for Booker winners. So, like I said, have not read this one. On her deathbed, Rachel Swart makes a promise to Salome, the family's, or is it Salome? The family's black maid. This promise will divide the family, especially her children. Anton, the golden boy, Astrid, whose beauty is her power, and the youngest, Amor, whose life is shaped by feelings of guilt. Reunited by four funerals over 30 years, the dwindling Swart family remains haunted by the unmet promise, just as their country is haunted by its own failures. Okay, I was wondering. The Promise is an epic South African drama that unfurls against the unrelenting march of history, sure to leave its readers transformed. It will be a minute before I get to this. I'll tell you right now, I am currently reading a book that one YouTuber said he believes it'll win the Booker Prize. That's The Book of Records by Madeline Teen. I'm interested to see if this is on the long list and if it wins. I'm reading this, but it's very slow going. So to go into something else that's slow, probably, no, I can't. After this, I'm gonna have to like binge some rom-coms or something like that. This is beautiful and deep, but we'll see. We'll see if it makes the long list. Anywho. Now to 2022. This is one I actually will probably get to sooner rather than later, and that is The Seven Moons of Molly Almeida by Shehan Karunatilaka. Please forgive me if I mispronounce this. So, like I said, it's the 2022 Booker Prize winner, and I'm really, one of the things I love is reading outside my own cultural experience. I feel it just helps me understand the world a little bit better. And so when I read about different cultures, I learn something. Inevitably, it takes me to some, doing some internet research on history or a period or a place I haven't heard of before. So it's always rewarding. Colombo, 1990. Molly Almeida, war photographer, gambler, and closet queen, has woken up dead in what seems like a celestial visa office. His dismembered body is sinking in the Beira Lake, and he has no idea who killed him. This sounds so fun. In a country where scores are settled by death squads, suicide bombers, and hired goons, the list of suspects is depressingly long, as the ghouls and ghosts with grudges who cluster around can attest. But even in the afterlife, time is running out for Molly. He has 7 moons to contact the man and woman he loves most. He has 7 moons to contact the man and woman he loves most, and lead them to the photos that will rock Sri Lanka. So, this one, I read Brotherless Night. Was it this year or last year? It all blurs together. And I learned a lot about Sri Lanka and the Sri Lankan Civil War then. I totally forgot when that happened now. But this seems like a fun read. I'll get to this sooner rather than later, inshallah. Okie dokie. The next one is the 2023 Booker Prize winner, and this is one of the 3 that I have read. I read this earlier this year, and it is up in my pile. It's not in my pile right now, but of my favorite books of the year, and that is Paul Lynch's Prophet Song. I went into this with great trepidation because there are no paragraphs. There might be, are there even chapters? I think there might be chapters. I'm not seeing any. But there are no paragraphs. There's no punctuation, quotations around speaking. So it's just kind of runs on and on. And I was really afraid that I would not be able to read the book. However, I found, much to my surprise, that writing style, which I would not like in every single book, but in this, it propelled me forward and forward and faster until it reached the end. And I've got to say, this book was fantastic. I loved it. Again, it's up on one of my favorite reads of this year because I read it earlier this year. On a dark, wet evening in Dublin, scientist and mother of four, Eilish Stack answers her front door to find the GNSB on her step. Two officers from Ireland's newly formed secret police are here to interrogate her husband, a trade unionist. Ireland is falling apart. The country is in the grip of a government turning towards tyranny, and when her husband disappears, Eilish finds herself caught within the nightmare logic of a society that's quickly unraveling. How far will she go to save her family? And what, or who, is she willing to leave behind? I can't tell you how much I loved this book. This is one I could see myself rereading. I ended up somehow this year with a theme of tyranny, dystopia, but also refugees and people who leave home or can't go home. And I've read several books about that. Or Civil War. The Brotherless Night was also about Civil War, where people were unhoused. And like I said, unintended theme for the year. I'll need to go back and maybe make a video towards the end of the year. I totally didn't plan on it, but this fits right in with that. And it made me think about, sometimes you ask when something's going wrong in a country, why don't you just leave? Or in a marriage, why don't you just leave? And it's not, I don't know what my hair is doing. I'm just going to go with it. It's not that easy. And I think in Brotherless Night they said, why should I have to leave? Anywho, that's a whole nother video, but I highly recommend Prophet Song. If I had to rate the 3 books that I've read, I haven't told you about the third one yet. This is number 1. Shuggie Bain, Dark as It Was, is number 2. And Orbital by Samantha Harvey is number 3. This book is beautiful and lyrical. It was not 100% my cup of tea, but I did not DNF it. So I'm going to read you the back, and then I'm going to read you some of my comments in here. I'm going to read you some of my comments in here because actually kind of talking about something another YouTuber said. A slender novel of epic power named a best book of the year by Orphan Daily and Oprah Daily and The Guardian. Orbital deftly snapshots one day in the lives of 6 women and men traveling through space. Selected for one of the last space station missions of its kind before the program is dismantled, these astronauts and cosmonauts from America, Russia, Italy, Britain, and Japan have left their lives behind to travel at a speed of over 17,000 miles an hour as the Earth reels below. It's profound and contemplative. Nothing really happens. And so I found it kind of boring because I realized that I'm an action person, and Prophet Song had a lot of action in it. Orbital doesn't. Another book that I just read last week was all internal monologue. This is a lot of that as well. Only it's like internal from the outside. You know what somebody's thinking, but from like, I don't know, some omniscient presence. So one of the other YouTubers that I followed said he didn't read this book at the time because it has a lot of, she lists a lot, and boy does she. So there's a good bit of listing here, a bit of a complaint from some reviewers. I'm not going to give you an example because I don't want to rip up my pages. But then by the end, I come back and go, a lot of fucking listing. Also, this one makes me a bit claustrophobic. Yeah, because I was in the space shuttle with them, and that it was good. But overall, pretty words, lyrical. It just, when it was announced, it did not match the way I felt the world was going at the time. Anywho, so decent read. I don't want to spoil the ending for you, but I just found a part that I wrote where if this thing had happened, I would have loved the book, but it wasn't that kind of book, so it wasn't going to happen. Anywho, if you also have been waiting on the Booker Prize long list, I'd love to hear what you think of it. I will may or may not do a video. It'll depend on if I have any of the books that are on the long list. Again, I'm really looking forward to it, and if you've made it this far in the video, I'd love to hear from you down in the comments. I need to slow down. And, as always, thank you for sticking with me on my journey. Happy reading!